This is very important meetings of the leaders of the region. This is the first time that the 10 ASEAN leaders of the 10 ASEAN countries sat down together and discuss concerted and coordinated efforts to deal with the virus. And then they were joined later by the leaders of the so-called three dialogue partners of ASEAN, China, South Korea, and Japan. These three countries, as we all know, have had their major share of the impact of the coronavirus. But it looks like they have all turned the corner. So today it was certainly a good opportunity for them to share their experience and offer a helping hand to the ASEAN countries.
That's right. It's definitely a historical moment for all ASEAN leaders as well as the +3 leaders as well, because this is a teleconference and it's never been done before. And during this time of COVID-19, everyone is ready to share their experience as well as their recommendations on how to deal with the pandemic as well as future outbreaks in the future as well. So as you can see that ASEAN has already taken proactive steps in order to respond to COVID-19, whether it's implementing measures or even intensifying cooperation with other countries. So far, the ASEAN ministers, before this meeting, the ASEAN ministers from health, foreign ministers, or even defense, they already held video conferences with other countries to discuss on how to deal with the pandemic as well as to contain the virus.
And what's the outcome of the meeting, Khun Nat? Have we got anything concrete coming out from the meeting?
So today they already signed a declaration on COVID-19, but previously this morning they already listed out a few recommendations on what should we do in order to deal with the pandemic. So the chairman of the ASEAN Coordinating Council, or the ACC, gave a few suggestions during the teleconference. So they advised that the ASEAN should continue to enhance the exchange of information as well as sharing the best practices in preventing the pandemic as well as controlling the virus. They also suggested setting up a COVID-19 ASEAN response fund. So many countries are also suggesting to have a response fund as well. So the ACC actually suggested that the funds can be located from existing development funds that ASEAN has created in the past. So these kind of funds can be used in order to help with getting more medical equipment as well as the future research on COVID-19 and future pandemics.
And I guess this is the most concrete outcome of today's meeting, the so-called ASEAN COVID-19 Response Fund, probably the most tangible form of cooperation among ASEAN countries to deal with the deadly virus.
Exactly.
And what about the point that Thai Prime Minister has raised in the teleconference in particular?
So what the Thai Prime Minister mentioned is that it's pretty much similar to what has been discussed in the teleconference, is that the Thai Prime Minister suggested that the ASEAN and ASEAN +3 nations should come up with a COVID-19 response fund. Other suggestions also include facilitating logistics, customs, and cross-border trade so that people can have access to medical equipment and essential needs during the crisis as quickly as possible. Other suggestions include embracing digital economy, e-commerce, and most importantly, ASEAN should learn from this pandemic in order to be prepared for future pandemics that might come up in the future.
Seem very friendly atmosphere indeed. And that's among discussion among ASEAN leaders. And what about +3, the round with +3 leaders? What happened, Khun Nat?
ASEAN +3 leaders are pretty much willing to help out ASEAN nations in terms of fighting with the pandemic, because these countries, whether it's China, South Korea, and Japan, they've all experienced pandemics already. So, for example, like South Korea is most willing to help out with ASEAN nations, including other countries with the coronavirus outbreak. So South Korea will secure additional funding for humanitarian assistance and as well as responding to other countries and ASEAN countries in terms of if they need help in terms of tackling with the virus. South Korea is very willing to help these nations out as well.
Okay, so that means that from this point on, we will see a more concerted and more coordinated effort by ASEAN countries, plus their three dialogue partners in fighting against this virus. So this is good news, probably the most positive step ever taken by the grouping since the outbreak of the virus 2 months ago.
Yes, it's very nice to see that all of the nations are coming together, willing to help each other out to fight this pandemic. South Korea, China, and Japan are all very willing to help ASEAN nations, including other countries who are also facing such an outbreak, because they've already experienced high death tolls and struggles during the outbreak a couple of months ago. So when other countries are in need, they are so willing to help them get through this pandemic together.